Who knew we'd be back with more cosmic updates for the holiday season? The System 76 team has given us Alpha 4, and we're going to be going through it today. I'm going to show you how to upgrade to Alpha 4, as well as reviewing some of the new features and bug fixes. I also want to get into the usage of the Cosmic desktop as far as resources go, so stick around for all that, and I'm going to get into using Alpha 4 right away. Here's the greeter screen, which I've discussed before. Last time I didn't get to review the various different options that we have here at the bottom. Left of the greeter, which is the keyboard layout, user, session, suspend, restart, and shut down. These all now work pretty well. It also shows you if you have Wi-Fi or a wired connection here below. The greeter works pretty well, but what I've found as of recent is just to use one screen. Yes, I've been having issues with multi-monitor support. We're going to log in and check some of that out real quick, as it is a very quick loading time between when you use the greeter to when you actually see the desktop. One great noticeable change, of course, is the fact that we have icons in the background, which we can highlight, but we can't really move them around. They're not quite there yet. Every time I try to move something around, it ends up inside one of the other locations. Anyways, that's clearly a work in progress, but we do have the desktop view options, which you can toggle on and off the desktop folder content, which is the icons in the background of the desktop, if you do not like to use this and you like to keep your desktop completely clean for just the wallpaper. I know a lot of you had mentioned that this wasn't necessarily your cup of tea. Well, just know you have the option to remove it really easily. So I wasn't really expecting this fourth Cosmic Alpha release, at least before the holidays. You can tell that the System 76 team is hard at work, of course. That's not surprising. But before we see some of that work, I want to go to the display settings and explain something. We can clearly see what resolution and some of the options, including the refresh rate that I'm running currently. This is on physical hardware. Now, one thing I'll mention is I don't know why I keep getting this random unknown external display shown to me. It's one of those things that is a little buggy currently. I get that even though that I have one display only plugged in, and I've learned that plugging up multiple displays can cause quite a few issues. Things like not being able to focus on the proper screen, and things like mirroring don't make intuitive sense, at least not for me. For example, we have don't mirror project to HDMI-A, mirror to HDMI-A. And if for some reason you're having issues with scaling applications, you can use one of these two settings in order to hopefully better support your native resolution. I know this is going to get better. It's just one of those things that I keep running into while I'm trying to record things. I cannot use multiple monitors because I just get all sorts of issues. Anyways, with the System 76 hard at work on all that, I'm going to go and show something new in System and Accounts. System and Accounts now have something great, and that is the default applications view. In default applications, this is a new wonderful feature that has been added with Alpha 4, and now it allows us to select whatever application we want to use for default things such as the web browser, file manager, mail client, music, video, photos, and calendar. I love a place where you can have one view to actually select these things. We all like to use different editors, for example, or maybe web browsers. As Linux users, we really like to customize our system anyway, so it's great that we have one central location where we can make edits to all of this. Not guessing what's currently set. You know how big of a pain this is in things like Windows, where they have this buried really deep. But I love the fact that you can easily access this in System Accounts default applications. So in order to set something else, you just go over, click the drop down and select what you want. Let's go for an example. The context here isn't quite the best, as it shows what apps thinks is related. For example, it says here disk usage analyzer for the file manager. Well, that doesn't make much sense at all. One feature I would like to see in here is to be able to actually select whatever you want. Sometimes the system cannot make the relation quite properly. For example, I have Firefox and Thunderbird. Well, Thunderbird is an email client, which makes sense for a mail client. Web browser also kind of makes sense because you could technically log in using the web browser, but I would like to be able to, let's say if it didn't pick up on something, to be able to add it in manually. Where I could see that is, for example, the standard text editor. That should also be an option in here. I'm not sure whether or not we're done filling in options, but the text editor makes a lot of sense to me. For example, I might be one who uses Sublime or VS Code, VS Codium for my text editing, and I'd love to be able to select that here, as well as select whatever I think would work with text editing, even in a manual sense. All great and fun things being added here, but I want to talk about the Cosmic Media Player. That's right, they're working on a default media player to play your music. It's going to be called Cosmic Media Player, and why they mention it is because it kind of shows up in the default applications if you look hard enough. It's pretty cool that we're seeing something that's getting close to being ready, a work in progress, the Cosmic Media Player. We'll see how that works out in a future video, but I just wanted to mention it as it is being showcased as a new Rust-based application. Now let's get into even more here. But before we do, I want to show you how to upgrade your system so you can follow along and use the latest and greatest in Rust. This won't take us but a minute, but before we do, make sure to smash that like button if you enjoy videos like this, and it helps the channel get out to more Linux users, as well as if you keep getting these types of videos and you aren't subscribed, make sure to subscribe below. You wouldn't want to miss the next one. By starting up a terminal, we'll be able to make a full upgrade. If I do Control++, I can make this a little bigger so we can see. And what we want to type in is sudo apt update space ampersand for and space sudo apt upgrade. With these two pieces, we can update our repositories and update to the latest and greatest alpha version. It's that simple. Press enter, put in your administrative password, and make sure you type it in correct, as I clearly didn't know mine. But you're going to go through and it's going to work through these packages and install to the latest and greatest packages that are showcased on the latest Cosmic Alpha version. So notice here I have no upgrades, but I'll show you a screenshot real quick. No big deal. If we use Cosmic Files here, just want to get to my pictures, and I took a screenshot earlier when I was making an update. So if we look here, if we go to full screen, you'll notice something here in the middle. Just so you can tell that we're actually making the updates. It says here, the following packages will be upgraded: Cosmic Applets, Cosmic Compositor, Cosmic Edit, Files, Launcher, and so on and so forth. This is how you know that there's new updates to be made, and then you'll just be asked to enter in a yes or a no in order to make those upgrades. The default is yes, so just pressing enter will get you through as well. Just want to make sure that you get to see what a staged upgrade kind of looks like. I know it could be difficult if you don't understand what to look for. This is the first time I've actually used this full screen mode, and we can tell up at the top here, I do like how they've created a great experience in order to be able to go between the various different pictures you have in the galleries, but I do like how they've created this. It also allows you to go to the last picture in the gallery very quickly, as well as the very first picture in the gallery. You can scroll through individual ones very quickly as well. And I'm just showing you how the gallery view works, going through the various different pictures I have. We also have this plus or minus button in order to enlarge the image or to shrink it. You can even use this as a zooming feature, which works quite well. If you want to go to the normal size, you can as well by hitting this 1. You also can fit the image to the window, rotate it as well if necessary. That gets a little trippy. And then also see images in a pane that shows up below. So if you have a lot of images to go through, you can use the arrow keys very easily to scroll through these things. I really wanted to show this off last round because I think they did a fantastic job setting this up. And there's a lot of detail to this view. A lot of us spend time looking at pictures and screenshots, and there might be multiple of them. And this view is quite an amazing place to be in order to see those screenshots. I'm going to toggle that off so it's full screen, and then you'll notice this pause button. The pause button allows you to turn on or off the presentation mode, or slideshow mode, I guess you should call it. And it just goes manually through the various different pictures that you have in your gallery. We can also just pause it again by clicking the pause button. You'll notice it highlighted in this dark gray color. We also have options to rotate right or left 90 degrees at the bottom of the screen, and of course switch to the next screen using the next button on the left or the right. To leave the full screen mode, we just click leave full screen. It looks a little different, but you can still go around and search for things as well. Now we're technically just in the image viewer and we can use it very much the same, but you notice you don't have the exact same options at the top. I'm going to exit out and then I'm going to close without saving. And I've also figured out in order to get the gallery preview mode, we have to click an image first, then we go to view, and then we hit the gallery preview. Now you get a very similar gallery preview mode where we can go through and it just shades the background for us. So we still see our dock at the bottom, but everything else around is shaded and we can go through our images fairly quick with a quick focus. Those are definitely some things I wanted to cover and show off as I didn't get to in the last round because quite frankly, I didn't know how to use it. It didn't make much intuitive sense. I think the gallery preview should just show up, and if there's pictures, there's pictures. Otherwise, everything's grayed out and you can just exit out. That's just my personal preference. Throwing it out there. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Love to hear from you. Now I'd like to talk about accessibility support with the hook in for the applet and screen reader support. That's right, we're getting access to early stages of the accessibility applet now with Cosmic Alpha 4. It says though still it's in its very early stages, the new accessibility applet provides a toggle for turning on the screen reader support. Screen reading now works for Cosmic settings, Firefox, GNOME applications. For the alpha screen reader, testing is performed in Cosmic settings, and then will be applied to the rest of the Cosmic apps when ready. And this is what it looks like to turn on and off that accessibility. Looks like it's right in the dock. Fantastic, as they are now focused on some of the accessibility applications. Now I want to get into bug fixes and performance improvements. One big one is variable refresh rate. Now allows your display to match the frame rate of an image source such as a game, and doing so prevents screen tearing. This VRR support has now been added to the Cosmic Compositor and into display settings. So you can either set that to automatic or just disable it full on. Now we're going to talk about some of the fixes and performance improvements before we get back into looking at the desktop and specifically looking at the resource usage on the desktop. We're going to see what the memory usage is and how many standard packages are on the system. If you haven't seen my Cosmic Alpha 3 video, I recently posted it. You might want to check that one out as well, because I went into so many other things that I'm not getting into today, including things like taking a look at the tiling window support, which is one of the most fantastic features in Cosmic. Highly recommend going to check that out if you're interested. They fixed the bug with the context drawer widget related to dropdowns. Fixes for high CPU usage, fixed an issue causing Windows to freeze, fixed an issue for shutdown pop-up not scaling properly, restored focus to search fields on activation, padding fixes, fixed a memory leak causing some panel applets to crash. And before you all start saying, oh no, how could Rust have a memory leak? Well, I'll let you debate that in the comment section below, as I know a few of you are going to start doing that right away. Fixed an issue causing freezes to occur, align drag and drop while arranging panel applets, closed a vulnerability unlocking the system after a compositor or greeter crash, fixed a bug preventing context drawers from opening after changing themes, fixed screenshot and screen captures with multi-monitor and rotated displays. Definitely interested in how well this one works out. And we keep going through all the fixes here, quite a bit since Alpha 3. French language typo fixes, fixed a crashing issue, fixed another memory leak, toggling desktop icons on and off, slowness when moving files, hue sliders, tiling layouts, overlapping desktop icons and pop-ups, added functionality to keep a file selected, consecutive scrolling now increases scrolling speed. I'd love for this to be able to be turned on and off. We'll see if that happens. Expanded the input region, reduced large spacing, fixed an issue with context menus not opening up, info button now stays visible, generator, library updated, and licensing fixes, which is all great things. It's a lot to do since Cosmic Alpha 3 was last introduced to us. It had been a little while, I want to say a month or two, since they had released Cosmic Alpha 3. But in order to update to Alpha 4, there is an ISO available completely. I also show you how to do it directly inside of your current system if you already have Cosmic Desktop installed on your Pop! OS computer. If you've already installed one of these ISOs before, well, just do the method that I showed you. It's worth a shot before having to completely erase and reinstall things. Anyways, you have two options, the Intel AMD ISO, if you have an Intel or AMD graphics card, or if you have an NVIDIA, it has its own ISO, make sure to use that. One thing that I haven't covered in a little bit is all the different distributions that Cosmic is already available for and keeps growing on, which is Fedora, NixOS, Arch, OpenSUSE, SerpentOS, RedoxOS, and CatchyOS. If you run one of these, you can run Cosmic today. Now, you won't get the latest and greatest necessarily because it takes a little bit to port things over to each of these individual ones. They're all also in different stages of each other, so you might, again, not have the greatest and latest support. If you want that, use Pop! OS. That's where you're going to get the latest bug fixes, the latest apps, and the latest updates. It's where all the tests are performed. So if you want to stay on the bleeding edge of this development process, make sure to use Pop! All right, I'm ready to go back to the desktop environment here to show you a few more things. First off, if you just hit the super key, one of my favorite things in the whole system pops up, and that is the launcher. This thing works so well. I mean, just look how fast it draws up contexts that you're searching for. For example, I typed in screen and it gives me a whole bunch of things related to screen, including the Cosmic Screenshot tool, where I can capture a screenshot from the current window, display, or something selected. But you really can't underestimate this thing. I love using this, and it's only getting better and better. I know it's been available in other versions of Pop! OS. They've had the launcher for a while, but that's not why I like it so much on Cosmic. It's because with Rust, it feels even faster, and I love being able to do math. And then not just simple math. For example, if I do square root, of 4, it gives me the answer 2 and lets me copy that. It also signals that it's using the calculator app. So if you want to use that number right after you've calculated it, you can just click and then it updates the search. But let's just get a little more advanced here. So if I do 2 squared, I also like the fact that this updates while I'm writing things out. It even tries to guess what you're about to write, but notice here, it gives me the right answer as 2 squared is 4, square root of 4 is 2. So basically I'm just reversing whatever I did. Another way to do this, for example, maybe is like EX. Notice how it can do some advanced math as well. It's even telling you here that it's just partially congruent to whatever's labeled in here. I wonder if you can use these symbols. Can't say I've tried this quite yet, but we're definitely going to try it. So if I do 128, that don't work. Let's just do 3, 4. No, it doesn't look like the square root of 4 would work in this context. I guess it's just symbols that it shows you. Just wanted to try it out as that's the first time I actually saw that. Anyways, do not underestimate how well this launcher works. If you haven't used it, give it a shot. I think you're going to love it yourself. Now, one other thing that I looked at last time was the store. And I kind of bagged on a little bit was the fact that we had this new way of actually installing things and looking at details. I'd like a better way to be able to get to those details. But for example, I'm going to install 2 things here. Notice it says 2 operations are running. You can dismiss this message or hit details. But if you dismiss the message, you really can't go back to these details. At least I can't seem to find it that easily. But now I understand what this details view is. It shows you multiple things that you're currently installing or working on. That way that you can easily manage whatever you're doing. What I'd like from this operations is if I click on one of these, it actually takes me to the page so I can actually close things out or even like stop things from running. It'd be nice to have in case I made some sort of a mistake. So for example, right now, I really can't stop this from being installed. And I can't click either of these. So Obsidian's being installed in the background, and so is VLC Media Player. It would be nice if I could just stop this because I maybe don't want it anymore. I made a mistake. Just some improvements I can see being made to the overall Cosmic Store. Let me know if I'm missing something with this and you have a different method. But overall, I do like the fact that they have this details view and the progress bar at the bottom. If you want to dismiss the message, there you go. It's gone. Again, I don't know how to get it back. I definitely want to show that off as last time I viewed it and didn't really understand what it was even for. So at this point, I'm going to launch a terminal. The next 2 things are probably what a lot of you are interested in, and that's the resource usage on the system. Let's first make things full screen here, and then I'm going to run htop first. We're going to see what it looks like on an actual physical PC here. We currently have CPU usage somewhere between 0 and let's call it 15%. I have 4 cores on this guy. And currently memory is currently at 2.12 out of 32 gigs. The tasks running are 119, 445 threads, 150 kernel threads, and I've been up for about 36 minutes. Very good. The other thing I want to use is just to get some information about the system. You may be interested on what's being ran here. And currently this is Pop! OS 24.04 Alpha 4 on an Aptiplex 7050. Using kernel 6.9. We have 1,641 source packages and 15 Flatpaks installed on the system. Bash is running at 5.2, and this is the Cosmic Desktop environment. Finally, the memory is around 2.2 gigabytes out of 32 gigabytes. Now, you might be asking yourself, why is it so large? Isn't this supposed to be a lean desktop environment? Well, yes and no. It is a modern desktop environment, and when you do a comparison against something like GNOME, these numbers don't seem so large. But if you do it against some of the lighter weight desktop environments, it can look a little daunting. And from what I understand, the memory usage here in Pop! OS is higher than other distributions because they use higher scale factors, which increases the memory threshold for the kernel so that it can use cache. This typically improves desktop responsiveness by being able to retain more cache and memory. So it's a little hard to compare here, but with all that, there will be memory optimizations being made. And this is directly from a desktop developer, Michael, as I've always been interested in why it actually requires so much memory. Only time will tell whether or not we get this further down. I'd like to see it at least in the league of GNOME and under the current usage there. Enough talking about that. I want to show one more improvement. I really like just hitting display settings for some reason to get to the settings page. It would be maybe nice to get that option inside of this. Maybe instead of display settings, it can just be settings, or another option that just says settings right underneath that. That'd be really cool. Either way, just something personal that I like using. Hitting time and language, now we have new region and language settings. In these settings, we can set our preferred languages and the formatting using those languages. Notice it gives you an updated view of what the formatting will look like if you select something. I'm just going to select something at random here so we can tell what things look like. You'll notice that the formatting changes quite a bit. Not that I can understand it, but let's go into something. If I just search for UK, for example, well, that's not what I was expecting. I would have thought it'd pull up UK. I guess it doesn't have that sort of context, but we'll just do English then and see what we get here. And here we go, United Kingdom of Great Britain. Let's see what that looks like. I would expect the date to be formatted a little differently, aka instead of the day coming first, the month coming first in this dates format when compared to like the United States English, but you can't see that difference because 0101 is being used. So the first day, first month of the year. So that probably needs to be changed around a little bit to quite understand what the difference is. I also noticed that the PM just goes to lowercase if you're using UK versus English. So definitely the formatting is changing. But again, I think they swap around the month and the year. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Let me know if I am. But we can also add extra languages if we want. That way we can easily select between them and use them. You can remove, move them up, move them down because the order of the language actually determines which language is used for the transition of the desktop. Also, if you make any of these changes, make sure to re-log in because it only takes place on the next login where it updates the entire desktop. Well, that's it really for the region and language settings that have been added to Cosmic. Lots of new features added to the Cosmic Desktop Alpha 4. Everything's built on Rust here. It's quite exciting to see all the improvements that have been made. Again, a very exciting release as it is probably the last one we're going to see before the holiday season is over. And I wish everyone at the System 76 team happy holidays. Thanks for the great development. Let me know what you think about this new dev for Alpha 4 in the comment section below. What did you like? Did you dislike anything? Love to know about it. Also, if you've made it to the end, you are a true fan. So please support the channel by subscribing below if you haven't already. You wouldn't want to miss the next video. And don't forget to smash that like button for me. Catch me in a great community on Discord, and I'll catch you in another video. Thanks for watching. Linux can be hard to understand, but I take the most commonly used terms, commands, and subjects in Linux and I break them down into simple to read documents, including Linux terms, flashcards, a checklist, a cheat sheet, and a mind map. And if you're ready to level up your Linux experience and knowledge, go to learn.savvynik.com now and get access to these sheets.